Welcome, everybody, to the first review for Talen's Tavern. Today, we are going to be reviewing Pathfinder for Savage Worlds core rules for the Fantasy Grounds Unity platform. It is an adaptation for Fantasy Grounds by Aki Heikkinen and Kevin Doswell, and you can find it on days where it's not on sale for $39.99 at the Smiteworks store. I'm going to walk through a lot of the rule set here, show you some of the functionality, and explain what it is I like about this, but a little bit about the review channel here for everybody's benefit. We are going to be doing weekly reviews, dropping every Saturday. The goal of this is to give everybody some information before they decide to put down their hard-earned money and get a chance to look at it and get a little sense of how it's going to play at the table. And I'll give my recommendations and the basis for those recommendations as we go through. It's a little bit different from the walkthroughs for some of the video tutorials that are out there, in that I'll be making some value judgments based on my experience with it. My experience is I'm not a programmer, don't pretend to be, and I'm probably a lot like a lot of people reviewing or watching this review, in that I want something that works. I want it to be fairly easily digestible. You have to put in a little bit of work, but if I can do it, anybody out there can do it. And we'll show you how that works as we go through. In terms of going forward, just post some comments either at the YouTube site or in the Fantasy Grounds forums. Let me know what you want to see next. If there's a purchase you're thinking of buying, absolutely looking for recommendations in terms of what to review next. I've got the next few episodes planned out, but definitely looking for some feedback of what you want to see next. That being the case, let's get right into it. So, as you can see, this is the Pathfinder for Savage Worlds Adventures Edition. I've been very excited for this one because I love the Pathfinder role-playing game as a player. The adventure paths that they have are top-notch. The stories are excellent. Even as a GM, the adventures are easy to follow. There are a lot of options. It's not quite as open-ended, in my personal opinion, as 5e, but the issue I personally have with 5e's adventures is you can get easily lost, and it's a little difficult to move forward at times in the 5e adventures. At least that's been my experience. Pathfinder, the adventures, some people will argue that they're a little railroady, but for my personal gaming, I don't mind a railroad if it takes you to a great destination. And there is room for some open-ended exploration as well, but that's a general feel for the difference between Pathfinder and 5e, in my opinion. The problem, again, in my personal experience with Pathfinder, is it tends to get a little difficult for the GM to run through all of the different player options and just feel like they have a grasp of all of the rules, because it is a very crunchy system. Now, again, your mileage may vary, but that's been the issue for me. Now, Savage Worlds, on the other hand, very easy to run a game as a GM. The rules are easy to understand. They're not terribly complicated. A lot less crunchy than Pathfinder and even 5e for that matter. But there are options. So it's not just a role-playing game. There is some gaming to it as well, in terms of the different powers, edges, etc. Savage Worlds adventures, for my taste, tend to be a little too bare bones in terms of the structure. I like a little more structure, and that's where I think the combination of Pathfinder and Savage Worlds together makes for a great pairing. And then within the Fantasy Grounds rule set, Savage Worlds is one of the more supported rule sets over at Fantasy Grounds. 5e, obviously the king. Pathfinder, I would argue, would be next up. Savage Worlds isn't that very far behind Pathfinder. There's a huge gap between, well, not quite as huge as it used to be. There is a gap between Pathfinder and Savage Worlds and 5e, but they're all very well supported. And as we will discuss later, the other nice thing about this pairing is Savage Worlds rules are very easy to digest and implement and convert into Pathfinder. And therefore, if you use the Universal mod extension to load in non-Pathfinder for Savage Worlds adventures and supplements into Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, you get a lot of content for a very new system, which is really nice. And the conversion of the Pathfinder adventure paths into Savage Worlds is not terribly complicated, especially if you have the bestiary. So a lot of options there if you're looking for Savage Worlds at this point. But let's go into the implementation within Fantasy Grounds at this point. So you've got a lot of the same things that you have in 5e and Pathfinder. You've got your combat tracker. I've loaded a few of the characters into the combat tracker already and a monster for them to fight. A little bit of a 2-for-1 review here. There is an excellent module that you can purchase for the iconic characters, the archetypes within Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. And if you bring that up, it's $9.99. And while you could enter the characters yourself, character creation within Savage Worlds is very simple. The reality is that you'd be hard-pressed to make it look as good as it is. So me as a non-programmer, I could do this, but it would take a little bit of time. You could do the screen captures and then link to the images and input all of the information. But here for $9.99, you've got all of the iconics. All of their powers are populated, all of their attributes, skills. You can easily do the attacks and damage. Their powers are all there. It's scalable from novice onward. And if you also bring up the images from that module, especially for one-shots, if people aren't familiar with Fantasy Grounds, you can share this one page with them and they will at a quick glance learn what it is the iconics can do. So they can be new to Savage Worlds and Fantasy Grounds, not need to know a thing, can look at this image and know what it is they can do in basically one page. All of the iconics are there. Love the artwork that's been used. Obviously, a lot of it repurposed from Pathfinder, but this is just excellent. And it just looks great. So that's available to you as well. Again, that's separate from the core rules purchase, but in my opinion, very much worth the $10. There's a party sheet. Again, much like 5e, if you're familiar with it, you can see the bennies that are awarded. If you have all of your party in the party sheet, you can easily, with one button, either advance them, reset their adventure cards, or reset their bennies. So we're going to reset their bennies. You can see 2 bennies were added to the GM's bennies in addition to the PCs being reset. 2 players, the 2 bennies added. We can also add their adventure cards. Now, the adventure cards are implemented very well. A lot of people say that Fantasy Grounds doesn't have a robust card system, but in this case, the adventure card system works really well. So if you bring up the character sheet, go to the adventure cards, you can see that they have their the adventure cards there. You can see what they do. And if you want to drag them into the chat window, you can play it, and it will tell you what the card did. And in some instances, if there's a mechanical benefit, it will apply the mechanical benefit. So again, the adventure cards are just very well done within Savage Worlds and Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. And if we were to bring up the adventure deck, it explains how to use the cards. You can see the different pictures for the cards, which again, straight from the deck, but they look amazing. So just, again, very well done within the rule set. Okay, let me just close those out. So again, we've got the party sheet. You can see the party inventory. Again, you can award gold across the party. It does a great job with that. So if they found, say, 100 gold pieces and we were to distribute that to the party, you can see that each party member received half of that. So a great way to quickly dole out loot. Party order, you can move that around depending on what their order is. Again, useful in terms of any surprises that might come up. You can create new new notes as you're going through. You can drop party allies in here, which can be used by the party later. Just very well done. There's a calendar. While you're running your game, the GM tool bar can be brought up where you can easily drag bennies to your players. You can see that I just awarded Ezrin a Benny. You can see the character summaries. This is a quick way to eyeball whether or not the PCs have been properly constituted and where they are in relation to each other. That's really well done. Again, the adventure deck, if you need to award a new card to, say, Ezrin, we can drag it from the toolkit and bring it on, and he just pulled up perfect timing. So again, great implementation. Card deck here as well. You can do that to award cards and draw cards during initiative and things like that. You can change the colors, as with everything in the rule set. All of the modifiers for Pathfinder for Savage Worlds are here. You can drag and drop on the characters and the NPCs. Same with effects. They are all here. And then your standard options where you can change the background decal, add different languages if you're going to homebrew anything, message of the day setup, all of that's in there, and much that you're familiar with. The core rulebook, very well done. Again, if you're familiar with any of the more well-developed rule sets at Fantasy Grounds, you're going to get that same functionality. So you've got the reference manual. You can go through, scroll through all of the different rules within Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. Just a very convenient way to look at all of the different rules that are part of the system and that your players will make use of. Related to that reference manual has a lot of amazing artwork. One of the strong points, in my opinion, of the Pathfinder rule set is that the artwork, I think, is amazing. I think most people do. There are a few that think it's not very... I think the critique from some is that it is more... it doesn't communicate action very well, but I would tend to disagree with that. So just to share with you some of the artwork within the module, you can see the different pieces here. And again, I think they're just amazing. Even the cover that's there, you can see the different pictures here, which are well done. Love the Lich picture there. That's one of my favorites, I think. And then you can see all of the different products within the current Savage Pathfinders or Pathfinder for Savage Worlds line. I think Savage Pathfinder is just quicker for me to say, but I think technically it is Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. Probably part of their marketing agreement and the agreement to combine Savage Worlds and Pathfinder. Regardless, there are several published modules out there. Hollow's Last Hope is a good introductory adventure, one that I'm actually running next week at the Savage Worlds game day on Thursday. A lot of organized play being developed for that. Rise of the Rune Lords Adventure Path is fully converted out there. I kickstarted it. It's amazing in its physical form. Very well done within Fantasy Grounds as well. They have just kickstarted a second adventure path for the Crimson, I forget the name of it now, but I did back that one as well. So those are out there as well. We've already gone through the characters, your ability to create notes, as with all of the fully functioning rule sets. Very easy to see, especially for newbies, what individual powers do. This explains the power, what the actual mechanical benefit is. All the ancestries are there with their different abilities. Just an easy way to learn games. I'm frankly a little spoiled with running games online. It's a lot easier to understand all of the different rules and in a much faster way than at the table at this point in my life. It's just easy to click the link, see what the power does, where otherwise I'm going through an index and rapidly scouring, trying to find a particular rule. If you forget things like how illumination works, you can drag and drop from the reference manual, put it in your hotbar, and it will give you the rules for elimination. It will explain the penalties, and it will give you the actual rules and related rules. So stealth and how it impacts the drop within Savage Pathfinder, that's all in there. If you have a travel interlude going on, this can explain how random encounters will work with the use of cards. Surprise, how surprise rounds work. Again, very simple. The Savage Worlds rule set is, I wouldn't say simple, but it is easy to implement. So just really for an online game, it really hits the sweet spot for me, and the combination with the Pathfinder Adventure Paths is just exactly what I'm looking for an alternative to 5e. You have the ability to create your encounters like you do for 5e. You drag and drop the monsters you want. You can place them onto the map and then close it out. And then when you bring up your encounter, click the button and it will add it to the combat tracker. Just very intuitive functionality in that respect. Again, if you're looking for images to share with your players, you can pull them up here, do the search, share them. You can import new images that you find on the net as well. It's fairly simple to do. Items, you can drag them straight onto the character sheets, or you can put them in the party sheet for distribution later as the party decides who gets what and then drags it onto their character sheet. A lot of good definitions. They're pretty simple. Sometimes there are images. You can go to the images and get those as well. But again, if there's any related rules, you click on there and it gives you the related rules, which again makes for running a game very simple. Items divided by gear, armor, melee, ranged. It gives you the chart in an easy form. If you're looking as a player to purchase something, you can pull that up, find out what exactly it does, but also if I have 30 gold to spend, what can I get? I can get anything from smoke stick on down. Quick description, the range, the damage. It's just a great way for a player to go shopping at that point. You've got the vehicles in there as well as enchantments. Really well done. Now this, at this point, I do not believe is implementing the new vehicle modifications that have been rolled out for 5e and Starjammer, but those are pretty easy to implement within Savage Worlds as well. NPCs, all of your NPCs in here. One minor critique I have with the core rulebook here is when you bring up the NPCs, all of their powers are there. You can see what they do at a glance. Again, you can attack, roll your damage, all easy to implement. The issue I have, though, is some of them have tokens, but in the core rule book itself, most of them do not. They have a generic letter token, and that's common with a lot of rule sets. It's again a minor point, and I understand that there may be IP issues or limited authorizations to use other artwork for those tokens, but I would hope that at some point either the gaming companies provide some artwork to be used across products to address needs like this, or even Smiteworks were to create a generic inventory of tokens to be used across all product lines. The letter tokens work in a pinch, but it really takes away from an encounter, in my opinion, when you've got the players with all the great images that they've selected for their characters, the main NPCs having images, but then you have some characters in there with a letter token. So that's one little nitpick I have with the rule set. It's common across multiple rule sets, but one that I would hope would be addressed at some point. Parcels, if you're going to award treasure, this easily gets dropped into your party sheet for distribution. Again, really easy to implement. The quests, you can keep track of quests. You can create a new quest, name it, rescue quest. Then you can describe what they're going to do. Rescue the young prince. And then once you lock it, if you bring up the party sheet, I believe we can drag that onto, perhaps not. Well, in any event, that is shareable and draggable onto the characters and notes, even if that's not awarded within the inventory. Stories, again, this is more so for adventures. I'll probably be reviewing Hollow's Last Hope after the one-shot next week, but you've got the different story entries. You can drag and drop the block text for the party to review. If there is an encounter or individual NPCs that they will encounter, you can drag those into the combat tracker, and they are all there as well. Tactics, you can see an image to share with the players. Again, love the the artwork in the whole product line. Tables, great for use with the GM if you are going to be, say, awarding magic items, and they get a robe of useful items. There's a random table for what they might pull from that. You can either do it so that only the GM sees it, or you can, well, in this case, this is only the GM. But you can then drag and drop it into the chat window for everybody to see. A lot of great tables for that. Reactions, see what the standard reaction is at the start of an encounter. All of that is in there. Again, you've got the vehicles. I do not believe that this implements the new, it doesn't, the new 5e functionality, but you don't need that for Savage Pathfinder, so it's not a problem. For the characters, there is a great resource for them to click if they don't know what ancestries they want to take. You can easily look at them there, and it gives all of the detail. If they want to select an edge, again, it's all there. Hindrances, powers, bring them up, gives you the rules, and then any related rules are pulled up. That's all in there as well. One thing on the tables and powers, sometimes you'll pull up a power or an image, and it will be a little blurry. So for instance, if we pull up the world map, don't lose hope. This is actually scalable, so you could zoom in by moving your mouse wheel, and the resolution increases, and you can move about and see where your characters are going to be appearing, and then you can, say, highlight it for them if that's where they're going. If they're going to, let's say they're going to go to Solku, we can then drag that over there, share the image with them, and they can see where on the map they're going. Now, if you wanted to increase the size of this, all you would do is Control left click, open it up, and we can scroll around, make it even bigger. And then if we right click, we can change the view, and we can do zoom to fit, and that will bring it in. And then we'll just close it down. And again, if it's still too small, we can zoom in. So good functionality on the images for that as well. All right, real quick, I want to show you the combat here before we end up. Again, you can set up your maps ahead of time. I just need to find where I put my map. And it appears I closed it out, so let's pull that back up. So we'll go to images. We'll search for map. That's not it. Where did I put the map? That is unfortunate. So let me go to images. Hadn't shared it yet. I know. We will go to Hollow's Last Hope, and it was Droskar's Crucible. All right, so I've put the characters on the map. You bring it up, it comes up. We're gonna scroll to where the combat is going to occur here, and then left click on this and pan to where the players are going to be. We'll just make it a little bigger. And that'll work. Okay. So, again, much like 5e, you can have line of sight. This shows what Amiri can see. Same with Ezrin. At this point, neither one of them can see the skeleton. However, we're going to start combat, and it's very easy to run. You just click Next Combatant, and you can see that the skeleton is up, but I actually should have dealt their initiative cards. So there, we've got their initiative cards, and because I messed up and started it ahead of time, we've got the skeleton up first, although the Joker was drawn. You can see with the Joker being drawn, the Benny was automatically awarded to the PCs. So again, a little bit of the record keeping for the GM is taken care of. So the skeleton comes out of the doorway here and is going to attack Amiri. That's easy to take care of. You can see her attacks here, so you can drag and drop that onto Amiri. It will automatically calculate whether it was a hit or a miss. That was a miss. We'll advance. Amiri is up. And we can, since we're running this as the GM, we'll go to her combat sheet. This is how the players would do it as well. She is going to hack at him with her bastard sword. So again, left click, drag and drop either on the token or on the character sheet or on the combat tracker, or alternatively, you can have her control left click and target. She is targeting the human skeleton at this point. So if I then just roll from the character sheet instead of dragging, it will target the skeleton. You can see that that was a hit, and now we will roll our damage. So we just double click there. That was not enough to harm, so we'll just apply that and move on. Moving on to the next round. Again, new cards are sent out for initiative. Ezrin, we will bring up Ezrin. Go to his powers. He is going to cast Bolt on the skeleton. You can see that that hits with a raise. The raise will automatically factor in the extra damage. So we will roll that onto the skeleton. You can see that the extra die was rolled for the raise, and that's a total of 7, and the character is shaken. The NPC is shaken. Now, if we apply this, you can see that the shaken effect was already put on, or condition was already put on the skeleton. You can see it on the map if the map is big enough. Get that down. You can see that there. You can also see it in the combat tracker that the skeleton is shaken. You can get rid of that. And just again, really well done. If let's assume that the skeleton were to attack and hit one of the characters. So we're going to move down to the skeleton. Automatically rolls to see if the shaken status was removed, but if it wasn't, we would be able to go to our GM tools and take one of the GM bennies and apply it to remove the shaken effect. So that's one way to do it as well. You can, let's just show real quick the use of the Benny. So the claw attack on, let's say, Amiri, it's going to hit with a raise because the bonus. Now we're going to also make sure that she is damaged. So we'll roll the damage. You can see that the exploding dice automatically rolled every time it exploded. That's enough to do 4 wounds. We don't want her to go down, so the player character could apply the Benny It will make the roll to see if it was soaked. It was not. She can try again. Again, that was enough to get rid of 1. So we could apply that, and she would only take 3 wounds instead of 4. So again, the combat is really well done. It implements the rule set really nicely. So I wanted to show that real quick just to show the functionality of the rule set, not as a tutorial. But you can do multi-actions, automatically figure in penalties in the lower left-hand corner here with the different actions. You can have them do the run roll by clicking the run button. If you forgot to target and needed to do a raise with the damage, you could toggle that switch by the modifier box on and off to have that rolled in. All right, so that was at a very quick run through the combat for Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. So the bottom line is, what do I think with regard to this rule set? Is this a buy for everybody or not? I think it is a very well-developed rule set. It is very pretty. I love the artwork. I love the way it's been set up. It does a great job of mirroring the theme of the physical product. There are many options available for Savage Worlds Adventure Edition already. But if you add the Pathfinder for Savage Worlds and the Universal Extension, you can load all of the existing Pathfinder products. And there is a lot of Pathfinder product out there. If you want background on the different continents within the Galarian, which is the Pathfinder world, you can go back all the way to 1E and load all of that material in, have it at your fingertips, and then it's a simple matter of doing the conversion from Pathfinder to Savage Worlds, which is more of an art than a science, but if you have the bestiary, you can easily drop those in. Named NPCs, a little more difficult to make those conversions, but if you're willing to spend the time, a lot of that content, the maps, the images, etc., are already there, which is great. It's an easy system to run online compared to others. You won't get bogged down in rules. The rules do not get in the way of the story. And if you want to do some gaming but really want to focus on story, this is a great rule set for it. There's, again, some gaming to be had in terms of the different edges, hindrances, etc. But in terms of rules supporting roleplay, I can't think of much that do it better. So that's great. In terms of minor nitpicks, primarily the token issue, but that's common across the board, and some image resolution issues, which are easily taken care of by using the mouse wheel and scrolling. It's a very stable rule set. You don't need to worry about crashes. If you're running a lot of extensions, that's always a particular concern, whether or not the extensions are going to conflict on an update. But Pathfinder for Savage Worlds and Savage Worlds get a lot of love from the developer community, so I think you're in a good position there. You don't have to worry about your extensions too much. Bottom line, absolute buy recommendation from me. I think the price is similar. You don't get the same 5e discounts that you do, but it still is definitely a value add and well worth the money. The sort of a 2-for-1 review here, the archetype module for $9.99, definite buy if you're going to be running for pickups or if you're new to the system and want to see how characters work. It's just so well done. Yeah, you could do it yourself, but what's your time worth for $9.99? I would easily spend a few hours on that. My time's worth more than that over the course of the day. So definitely a great value add there. So bottom line, Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, definite buy. I don't think you're going to be sorry with it. All right, that's going to conclude our very first ever review for Talen's Tavern. If you found this helpful, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. there is going to be weekly content here. I'm hoping to up the pace in the very beginning to have more content at the beginning for people to come, and then they can check on a weekly basis and see what the new reviews are. You can help me out by sending recommendations for what you want to see reviewed next. Again, the whole point of this is I'll spend my money so you don't have to. I'll do the review, and then you can decide if this is something for you or not. And for those that think you might want to buy something based on the review, feel free to click my affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner of the YouTube site. I am part of the affiliate program. That doesn't impact the reviews, frankly, because there's not that many people coming to this at this point, and I'll fully disclose if there's an affiliate link there. But again, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any suggestions for ways to make this better for you, just let me know in the comments. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.